And we will be going live on the radio now. You're listening to WKDW Radio 97.5 and KDWRadio.com, broadcasting from the Bishop West Real Estate Mobile Tower right here in beautiful Northport, Florida. Our listening audience is Venice all the way down into Port Charlotte. Please, as a reminder, this show has really critical information for the viewing audience outside of our range. So if you have friends, share this on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, and try to get as much information, real live information out to friends and loved ones who are in need of that information. And let's take the fear out of dealing with FEMA and SBA. I've got two very special guests in the house today. I'm going to start out with Latanga, and I had such a joyful conversation with her yesterday. I will let her take the realm and take us through who she is and what she's about and who she's representing today.
Thanks very much, John. My name is Latanga Hopes. I am a media relations specialist for FEMA. I get to spread good news. What happens is after a disaster, my team and people that work in my capacity as a media relations specialist, we are focused on getting information out to the community, sharing details about what FEMA can do to support you in your recovery efforts, and channeling as many people as we can to local support, which you can find at disaster recovery centers.
That's fantastic. And I'm going to bring in your counterpart, and I'm Tahita.
Hi.
I'm gonna. These are really crafty names, and I love them. It's a great challenge for me too. Tahita, would you introduce yourself and give a little background there also?
Yes, of course. Thank you for having us both on. My name is Tahita Mateen, Public Affairs Specialist with the United States Small Business Administration, the SBA. And the SBA is here to support the Hurricane Ian declaration along with FEMA in the matter of low interest loans. And we just want to make sure that we're getting all of the specific information out to the public as a whole. And like you said, it won't be as scary, and we can kind of overcome those myths that are out there. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And I want to really highlight right now one of the most important things that we can get out to the listening audience today. And that's a deadline that's coming up really soon. And can you explain that to Tahita? To Latanga, I'm sorry.
Latanga. Of course I can.
But here's so well just seconds ago.
Hey, we'll work it out.
And the wonderful thing is this, though, we work in concert together. So anything that's happening with FEMA, it usually also applies to the Small Business Administration. So if there's a deadline for FEMA, Matina is going to be able to tell you about the deadline for SBA as well. So that date is upcoming. It's coming up on the 12th. September 12th is the last day that anyone that has incurred damage for Hurricane Ian.
January 12th.
Oh,
sorry.
Indeed, January 12th. Let me start over. Sorry about that.
No,
so anyone that has incurred damage from Hurricane Ian, your date to get your application in will be on January 12th. Now, you
go ahead.
Continue, please.
The application to get in before the deadline doesn't mean the process stops at that. That means that you're just beginning the journey into SBA and FEMA, correct?
That is, you're opening the door so that we can start the process of getting you into an eligible status. Once you've completed your application, you should be listening for a phone call. You should be looking for an email or a letter that will then tell you that you are eligible for benefits, or it will tell you that you are ineligible. And it's at that point that more work will be needed. And we'll get into those details as well.
And I really want to highlight that because we have had so many people who have, been caught up into the flood situation, and they didn't have flood insurance because their home was not in a flood zone prior to this. So they're dealing with FEMA in a different standard, and they're also dealing with SBA. And along those lines, they get denial letters And can you kind of explain your approach with FEMA and SBA as far as these denial letters, and how you guys work together to try to craft a good strategy for the consumer?
I'm going to give you some information, and hopefully Matima can support me in that endeavor and also explain how it works as it relates to getting to the SBA team, because it's a teamwork process that we do. So you complete your application with FEMA. Let's say that you do not successfully go through that process. You will get what we call a letter of determination. And what it will tell you is that we have determined at this point. Be sure to read that information, because it could just simply tell you that we didn't understand some of the information that you submitted, and we've determined that you need to bring in more paperwork to support that endeavor. Or it could tell you that we've reached this conclusion and we believe that you are ineligible for benefits. And it's at that point that you would want to come and say, well, I've read your information and I disagree. And you have that right to do so. What you would need to do at that point is state your case. Tell us why you disagree. Make sure you bring pictures, show us what we did not see, and prove your case to us, because we're here to help. But whatever it is that may become a sticking point, the onus is then on you to be able to support that endeavor. And you could come in to one of the local disaster recovery centers. Those specialists are so good at what they're doing. They will ask you, do you have this type of information? Can you provide us with pictures to support this? And they may be useful. Now, here's the caveat, which is why the SBA is so important. In your process to complete your application with FEMA, there may be times when you may need to be directed to the Small Business Administration. Please, if we give you that request or that indication or direction, please follow through. It does not mean that you have to take the loan. What it does mean is, just by going through that process, it gives us the opportunity to be able to open the door for even more benefits that you may be able to find under a different category. But what's most important, because sometimes we get people that come in the door and they want to go straight to the Small Business Administration. And now Matima is going to tell you how that process works.
Awesome.
Yes, of course. So thank you so much for that. Just to piggyback off of what she said, if you can hear my voice right now, make sure that you complete that SBA step. Now, as I said before, SBA is a low interest rate loan. A lot of people, they just stop when they see the word loan in that process. I can say it so many times, make sure you go through that process. If for some reason the SBA cannot help you, just like Latanya just described, we will refer you back to FEMA. It's an automatic process for additional grant consideration. So I just want to make sure that you understand what that process is. Again, the deadline is January 12th. We want to make sure that you get into that queue. Time is going by so fast. Just make sure you get into the queue. You may be asked to submit additional information. As you mentioned, the denials. The two most common denials for SBA disaster loans is repayment ability and credit history. So we want to make sure that you're able to describe and submit additional documentation along to supplement that reconsideration process if you were denied.
Fantastic. And I want to stick with the partnership just for a second so that people understand that you guys really do play off of each other's information and really to drive the consumer the correct way. Isn't that the way this works?
I think you have a really good understanding. Think about what Matima just recently mentioned to you. As she stated, if you do not qualify for the loan, and she gave you two really good examples,
exactly,
they're going to send you back to FEMA. Make sure you guys understand that. If you go to the Small Business Administration and you are denied for your loan, you may be sent back to FEMA, and there may be other grants made available to you.
So
and also with that, if you don't complete that SBA step, and let's say you're trying to wait for insurance, or you just don't want a loan, or you're just kind of afraid of that word loan, If you don't complete that process, there is no referral back to FEMA to happen for that additional grant consideration. Of
Good
course,
point.
FEMA grants do not have to pay back. SBA loans, those are repayable. You have to pay those funds back in the form of a loan. So I just want to, urge people, don't be afraid of that. I can go through the word loan.
Matima.
So John,
Matima, can you hear me?
you were saying something. I'm sorry, I cut you.
I wanted to say, John, make sure you tell your listeners to hear this very carefully. Tell them how low some of your loans are, Matima. I love this part.
You mean the interest rates?
Yes. We're waiting.
Oh, yeah, of course. So for home loans, the interest rate is as low as 2.188%. Business owners, the interest rate is as low as 3.040. Nonprofit organizations like churches, the interest rate is as low as 1.875. Those payments can be made over a strand of up to 30 years. You can use it to relocate, to refinance. So there's a lot of options that we can go bullet by bullet point. And I do want to mention that this is huge news. I was trying to save it, but I'll go ahead and mention those people who are approved for SBA loan, or that you're thinking about still applying. You have a 0% interest accrual for 12 months. And also no payment is due for the first 12 months of your promissory note as well. So that's huge news. As long as I've been with SBA, I've never seen the 0% interest accrual, and that's for 12 months. After that 12 months, the regular fixed interest will start to accrue. So that's good news. And it may be a little push for someone who's just thinking about it.
Well, and the other side of that is that people are finding themselves in very difficult times right now. And that 12-month grace, it could be a life-changing. We already had a life-changing event for a lot of people here, but that could be a second life-changing event, only more positive, because of a job being maybe delayed a little bit, your relocation process, your destruction of your home, and maybe your business at the same time. So all of these things play hand in hand with each other. I liked how you coupled the repayment in as part of the scenario. People do need to understand that the word loan is exactly what it is, but it is a friendlier loan, with the interest rates much lower now than the standard loan to go to a credit union or a bank to try to get repairs done. So if you have friends, you have colleagues, family members out there, and they're throwing their hands in the air and they say, I just don't have help, the first question I would say is, have you done your FEMA application? The second is, have you made sure that you've been in contact with SBA and done their process and made sure that that second step is taken care of? Because if you don't do both of these by January 12th, you're kind of in harm's way, and you may not have another chance. Is that pretty accurate?
I think it's a very good summation. Good job.
Yeah. And also, I do want to mention for those business owners, the SBA also helps homeowners and renter business owners, nonprofits. For those business owners, you actually have another deadline, which is June 29th, 2023, to apply for working capital needs. And that's basically to help your business stay in business as if the natural disaster never happened. So I do want to mention that. But for those physical damages, those damages you can see for FEMA and SBA, January 12th is next week, right, guys?
It is. It's right there.
Yeah, it's right there. Mm-hmm.
Now,
what website can people go to fill out their FEMA application and get that process started as we're talking right now?
Disasterassistance.gov. Disasterassistance.gov.
Right.
If you've got a smartphone, type in these words: DRC locator. DRC locator. It stands for Disaster Recovery Center. DRC locator. Once you get there, this wonderful page will come up. And the only thing that you'll need to do is follow the prompts. It will get you to one of these disaster recovery centers that we refer to as DRCs. There are these wonderful specialists that are sitting there to take your application once you've completed it. Now, the wonderful thing about that, I wanted to have you know what the benefits are. When you get there, you're going to be able to expedite your application immediately. You'll know that it's been handed to someone that's going to start processing it and getting it to where it needs to go. There's no lag time there. If you have questions, you get immediate answers. Further, once you get your paperwork that needs to be submitted, they can roll that stuff right off and get it faxed off for you as well. And once they look at your application, they can tell you what more information may be needed, and that could save you the downtime of later getting a letter of determination and telling you, well, we need this, or can you bring that in? So it could be a very valuable time commodity.
And all those things matter, don't they? The time frame
is of the essence. You bringing in your paperwork and all of the items that you need, it's of the essence right now because of today is Friday, so we've got 6 days left, people. Let me tell you what happens with FEMA. I want to get into some of the information here. Firstly, we're here to help. We can only help as much as you allow us to do so. So the first thing you want to do is after you put your application in, they're going to give you a number that will be specific to you. When you call and you're discussing information with FEMA, reference that number because they'll identify you by that. It keeps you safe. So if you're sitting in a disaster recovery center, no one will know who whatever your 9-digit number is. As where if you give your name and other specific information, there may be people listening. So once you reference that information, you can continue to go back and forth with your information. And this is what I would like to encourage anyone to know. The people that are persistent are the people that usually get through the process. There is some work required on your behalf. You've got to go through that process. You've got to put in the work. And the other thing is this, stay in touch with FEMA. And the reason you want to do that, should you come in and tell us at one point that your home is damp, a little uncomfortable. However, it's safe, it's sanitized, and you're not in harm's way. If that changes later, you would want to call us and tell us. More funding could be allocated to you so that we can continue to support you in your recovery process. Now, we help with rebuilding. We help with repairs. If you need help with those things and some finance has been made available to you and you need more, contact us. You'll need to justify why you need it, but we can help you. We also help with housing. There's a program called Temporary Sheltering Assistance. So if we ask you, are you willing to move? Say yes, especially if your home is not safe, sanitized, or functional. And what we usually do is we provide either a hotel or a motel, which temporarily provides you with the resources that you need, but it gets you out of a place that may not be safe, sanitary, functional, or inhabitable or not habitable. We get you out of there. So be sure that you're listening. And if you don't know, please ask questions. We're happy to answer those questions for you. Now, once we're done with that process, if you're told that your home is permanently damaged, you can't go back to your home. It's been whisked away by the wind or the water, whatever the case may be, and you have no place to live. That does not preclude you from being able to participate in this TSA program that I just recently mentioned. So just because you've taken advantage of the TSA program and you're living in one of the hotels or the motels, that does not exclude you from later on being considered as a candidate for one of our housing programs.
So there are, from what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing, okay, if you don't ask for help, you're not able to get the layers of possible help that are out there. And I've tried to explain this to the listening audience now since the start of this whole process, because I have been blessed to be getting information from different sources, reliable sources, by the way. But I really want people to understand that the fear of FEMA and SBA, that should be removed firsthand. The second part of that is not everybody's journey is the same. So if you're taking advice from someone else, they may have a different journey completely. And if you don't ask your questions about your direct situation, please rethink that in the next 7 days, because truthfully, these ladies will tell you flat out right now, everybody's journey is different, and
Mhm.
the word no should be heard 3 times. Figure it out. I'm going to throw that off to Latanga, and then we'll throw it over to Tahita.
Well, what I'd like to do is, first of all, continue on that process of diffusing fear. I think what
Mhm.
you've just said is beautiful, because ultimately, if you submit the application, you can always walk away. There's no penalty. I'd
Mhm.
also like to continue with the diffusion of fear by this concept. If you are living on a fixed income, hear me clearly. If you are living on a fixed income, there's no penalty for receiving a grant from FEMA to help you with your recovery efforts. So if that's the reason why you're sitting on the fence and you've chosen not to complete your application, I want you to know there's no need to worry about the government coming after you later. Again, we're friendly. If you
Absolutely.
have a fixed income, let us help you. Come and complete your application. You've got a couple of days to get that in. And another concept is this: even if you're unable to get to one of the disaster recovery centers, call us at 1 800 621 3362. And as you mentioned right at the top of the show, you can always go online to disasterassistance.gov and you can get the information there. So you can complete your application starting with the phone, going online, or we would prefer that you try one of the disaster recovery centers. We think first person is best. Tahima, you want to jump in?
Yeah, of course. I'm just going to agree and piggyback off of what you two said. And everybody that's listening right now on live or streaming, wherever you are, FEMA nor SBA, we don't know what we don't know. We don't know your situation unless you continue to update us. Don't be fearful to appeal FEMA, to reconsider SBA, to challenge your denial. Again, we don't know what we don't know. I have heard of applicants who made small mistakes, which is transposing a number, leaving off of a zero in their income, and they were automatically sent a denial letter. So there are tiny mistakes that you may have made. Again, no two people are the same. No two businesses are the same. You don't want to compare apples and oranges. What worked for you may not be the same information that other person was asked to submit. So I just want to please reiterate that we don't know what we don't know unless you tell us. Reconsider, read your denial letters through and thoroughly. There is information there to tell you exactly how to reconsider. And I always tell people that those disaster recovery centers, SBA is there as well. SBA staff, FEMA staff, we are waiting all day for those people to come in and just pull up your application. We can go line by line, identify those mistakes, help you reconsider what documents you need, upload those documents right to your file in real time. So those sources are here while we are physically in the area. Those resources are here. I mean, I can just urge you, please take advantage of, us. Please take advantage of us while we're here.
Let me take the fear out of something else,
Yeah.
and it's very similar to what we're talking about, but it's a
Mhm.
different way of looking at it. Your SBA and FEMA are not designed to reject everyone, correct?
Well put. We're not in the penalty business. You are correct. We're here to help. Yep. That was beautifully put.
Mhm.
Let me explain to you and try to underscore what you just said. Consider this. We've reached a demarcation of $4.4 billion since coming in as requested by the state to
Mhm.
provide disaster recovery support. We are here to help. Not only that, I think if you think about it from just thinking about it from a Sarasota perspective, housing, individual household program, and this is a program that deals with people whose homes may not be safe and sanitary and functional. That program alone, our numbers are 59 million. So we're close to 60 million. 59,261,000. So we're saying a lot of yeses. If you're speaking to someone and they're telling you, oh, it didn't work out for me, don't listen to them. Do not listen to those people. We
Correct.
want to work through that process to help you. I think that being close to $60 million, and the reason why I'm saying that to you, because if we're telling you that the larger number for the state in the recovery process is at 4 billion, in your community, in your county alone, we're telling you that the individual households program is at 60 million. Some work is being done here. Work with us to help you get to the eligibility status. And what I mean by that is this. Consider this. We put out information about if your home is your boat. And I think this is a good explanation to tell you that we do what we can to work with you. We're in a place where, let's see, about 75% of the town of this state is covered by water from
Correct.
each side. And then there's places with water on the inside. These people on a senior level got together and decided, apparently they don't know this. Let's see if we can help them. And we disseminated information stating, if your home is your boat, or if your boat is your home, you can come in and complete your application and state your loss. And we will look at it no differently than anyone whose home is landlocked and sitting on a pad. So we're here to help you. They then went back to the table, doubled down on that, and they came up with some information that says we can allow applicants to be able to bring in different types of documentation to help us get you to the eligibility status. So at one point, there may have been maybe 5 to maybe 10 different ways that you could come in and bring your ID, tell us the home that you were living in by giving us the address, and maybe give us the address where you're living now. If we wanted to send you a check to help you with your recovery efforts, and you gave us that information, and you told us that maybe your home that you're living in was, you own it, but it was given to you because it was inherited. Mm-hmm. And we'll say, well, prove it to us. And you're incapable of proving that. Can't get the proper documentation. People, we just went through a disaster. That means you may not be able to do it. We found that to be consistent, and we said, you know what? Let's relax our criteria for being able to get people approved for eligibility. So I'm saying that based on that beautiful statement that you made, is that we're not here to penalize people. We're doing what we can to help further your support and being able to just simply prove to us who you are. You know, it's important that we have that control mechanism. We don't want to give away your money to someone else.
And I want to add something to that in layering this whole thing about how people have approached this and how you have approached it. Because if those individuals would have never come forward, things would not have changed. So if people really want things to change, they have to come in and tell their side of the story. They have to give you guys the insight to make those adjustments. And it's just not, and please understand that I've taken enough people into the FEMA and SBA campuses. Okay. They 100% are there to assist, 100% there to walk you through the process. But please keep in mind, they're not the end all tell all. They're the beginning step of the process. They're very professional, very courteous, very open, very heartwarming to people who have been through a very, very traumatic situation. And I'm going to promise you, out of everyone I've walked in the door, I've never walked the same case in twice. And I've gotten help for every single person at one level or another through the whole process. So it's been, to me, through helping others go through the process. I didn't have to do it myself. But I'm telling you, I'm so fired up about FEMA and SBA right now that the network of family that I've grown with the supporting cast of you guys, I believe in what you guys are doing, and I full-heartedly believe that people need to learn to trust and open up and just let it go. You got 7 days to throw it out there, get the application in, and then work the process.
Mm-hmm.
John, I
And
want to be a part of your family. Let's stay in
Well
touch.
put.
And as you mentioned, what we can do is as information becomes available to me, I'm more than happy to make sure that I get that over to you. You can
absolutely.
read verbatim to these people and share it with them. Like you, I'm very passionate about the work. I come from a news background, and I can tell you, there's no other background that you can work in news and every day you're sharing information that's either helpful or you know that you're going to change someone's life or help them get it back on track. So the information that we provide it's designated to help you recover from anything that you may have gone through. We focus on people that need safety. We focus on people whose homes may not be sanitized, and we focus on people whose homes may not be functional. One of the points I wanted to mention to you, as you stated about us being here to help, remember, FEMA is also hiring. If you can pass a background check, have a high school diploma, if you can answer a couple of more questions, consider driving a bit, consider going to usajobs.gov. And here's the beauty of what you just mentioned, and I want to try to make you understand this for your listeners. If we cannot help you by helping you with your recovery process, maybe we can help you with SBA with a loan. If we cannot help you with SBA with a loan, maybe we can help you with a job. If we can't help you with a job, there's a whole nother game in town through the state where resources that may not be available to you because maybe you are found ineligible. You can go right over to the state and apply for those benefits, and maybe they can help you with your recovery effort. We've got you covered here. FEMA is working with the state, lock and step, to make sure that if you miss one angle, they'll try to catch you on another. So I do hope that anyone that's listening, if you have not completed an application with FEMA and you incurred damages, give us a try.
And I want to throw this in because this is a true story that I walked somebody through the process who, believe it or not, an elderly person, and it's sad, less than 1 month before the hurricane hit, was in the midst of transitioning homeowners insurance.
Mm.
He did not send the check. So he went through this whole hurricane with no insurance. So I took him in. We walked through the process. He did get a check already. We're working on the remainder of his repairs. We've got all of his items now repaired on his house. I have been helping him through that process, lining people up, getting things done, and making sure that his house is back intact. I will tell you from a citizen's point of view, the minute that you start opening up your heart and your mind and your ability to help others, you're not just going to grow, you're going to grow exponentially. And you're going to find that people do wrap their arms around you. People at FEMA wrap their arms around you. People at SBA wrap your arms around you. Resource Central is really what we're talking about. And FEMA and SBA are resource central for a really bad situation that for that gentleman, yes, it hit his pocketbook, but there was relief in some form of a paycheck there, or a paycheck back, or a check back, not necessarily a paycheck, but people's lives have been devastated. And the naysayers of the world who are out there discouraging people, stop, please stop. This is not a time to do that. This is really a time to wrap your arms around people, encourage them to try to find the resources and guide them in the right direction. And I will tell you, without FEMA and without the SBA people, my friend would have been in harm's way if he wouldn't have gotten in there. Just in, and I'm going to say this, just on the mental side of things, having that relief, even though it was smaller, it was a good significant amount of money. When I say small, compared to what was happening to his house. So keep that in mind. That's a real tangible story that means something. And I know that you guys have similar stories. Go ahead and explain, or
I
expand
mean,
on what I said.
yeah, I mean, there, just from what I'm hearing, there's so many stories, and different stories, and heartfelt stories, and our hearts really go out to those people. I mentioned the other day to someone, it's like when we are in these areas, we're not from these areas, but we become a part of these areas. There's the hugs that we give out, the just listening to a person. A lot of times you're going through something like this, you just want someone to listen. So we just want to make sure that those people who are a little bit hesitant, or you heard this, you heard that, I cannot urge you enough. I encourage you to please go into one of the centers. You can use the app, you can call the 1-800 number, but just make sure that you get the help that you need. But yes, again, so many stories like that. And I do want to mention that it does take a level of advocating for yourself, your family members, those elderly members. You just got to kind of wrap people up in the information that you're hearing. Everybody's not going to get it. So if you know a friend and you hear what we are saying, just mention it to a friend, and you'll have the facts to, to spread that information like that as well. But yes, compassion, consideration, we're here to, for the long run, to help this place recover.
Do you have anything to
I was
add?
going to point out, I do. I was going to point out and I'm going to give you some internal information. And
Mhm.
what I want to do is try to get you to understand that what happens with FEMA is that we're always looking to get it right. And I
Mhm.
just so happen to have been at one of the disaster recovery centers, which we refer to as DRCs. And I got there right before they opened the door. And I was listening to the team lead as she was sharing information, one of the managers, about some events that had taken place the day before. She used that as a rally cry, an example of how things had started out, and they were able to overcome the technicalities of why this person couldn't get through.
Mhm.
She had her whole group there in the beginning. And just as if it were a football team or some other type of team, she pulled them all together and said, hey, here's an example of how things could have gone awry. And we may have told this person that they were ineligible, but we worked through this process. She held out an example of the person that was persistent on our side that said, well, can you do this? Well, can you bring this in? And by the end of that process, that person they were able to get their status changed to eligibility and to get the resources that they needed. And I just want to kind of hold that out as an example that there's no one with a rubber stamp, sitting behind a desk going, it's not my problem. This is our problem, and we signed up for it, and we've come here to help you. You mentioned that the National Flood Insurance Program was a tenuous moment for a person, and they didn't send in let the numbers talk for themselves. The numbers that we have for the National Flood Insurance Program: 1.72 million, oh, billion with a B,
I was going to say,
1.72 billion
yep.
dollars have been paid out to people. And I think that even before they were able to verify these claims, they were already sending out checks to people that had just submitted and had already signed up and were part of the NFI, National Flood Insurance Program. They start sending out money to those people immediately without even verifying their claims. So the response to being able to support you all through this endeavor is that if you don't have flood insurance and you live in Florida, you may want to consider getting those checks in, because it may help you should there be another hurricane or another disaster that comes through here. We refer to that concept as mitigation, because we believe that we help people before, after, and during disasters. So if you haven't considered getting the National Flood Insurance and working with those people, give them a call. Start by calling FEMA. We can get that information for you and share those details with you, and talk with these people to find out if they may be able to be a resource for you. Another thing I was going to mention to you with NFIP is that I think there was about 8,000 policyholders that were affected by the hurricane. And what we would want to tell people is that if your policy has lapsed, I think there was a deadline for you to be able to get all of your information in. Here's what's happened. They've relaxed that deadline and have extended it from anywhere from 30 to 90 days. So as you were mentioning about this person that was a survivor that didn't get their check in, here's another opportunity for you to see how our agency works. And it's not just a straight yes and no here. Here it is that they're saying that even if your policy has lapsed, how about you go ahead and take advantage of this opportunity, get what you need in, get yourselves covered so that you can be ready for the next one. We have mitigation teams that are set up. I think the one closest for Sarasota would probably be in Port Charlotte. These are people that are standing by, and when you get your grant or you get your SBA money and you need to go in and you're looking for how to rebuild, they can provide you with the resources and the information that tells you a better way to rebuild, a better way to repair. And these people are here and they're giving you information based on best practices. And the whole purpose of doing this is to make sure that there is safety in the process and you're not stuck in the mud and go right back to the same situation. So we're always looking for resources and opportunities to make things better. I do hope that anyone that hears this information, if you're not sure about applying, consider calling us at 1-800-621-3362. We have the ability to be able to intercede for people that may be hard of hearing. If you need other support, I think we are able to provide a multiple number of different languages and resources to be able to make sure that we can speak to you in your language. So we're doing everything that we can to reach out to you. But for anybody that has not applied, if you think that you've incurred damages and you're pondering about it, how about you just submit the application? You don't have to go through the process, but at least get it in. And I think that what Matima may be able to even share with you is that if you put your application in with SBA, you may have some downtime where you can consider taking the loan. You don't have to do that immediately either. Give them some information, Matima. Hook them up.
Yeah, so I just want to mention that also backtracking to mitigation, for those people that have been approved for an SBA loan, you can ask for an increase. We can increase that loan by 20% to help with mitigation. And mitigation is anything that makes your home stronger for the next hurricane. And unfortunately, we do have to continue to talk about that. So your loan that was approved can be increased by 20% more. You have to put in an increased request to help with mitigation funds. Yes, so we also want to make sure that people are not waiting for insurance. Go ahead and submit your SBA loan. Like I said earlier, go ahead and get into the queue. If for some reason we see that your insurance is going to take care of your damages, by law, SBA or FEMA, we cannot duplicate those funds. So some people have been, saying that, well, SBA said my insurance, would pay for it all. Whatever your insurance deemed those losses to be in your insurance policy, if they gave you that amount of the damages, then yes, we consider that your insurance have made you as whole as possible. We can only fill in the gaps in that circumstance. So I want to make sure that people, do understand that. We do get a lot of questions about that.
Let's stay there for a second, just so that I know how you said it sounded clear.
Yeah.
But I right to the heart of it all, the first thing you should have is homeowners insurance. The second thing we've learned through this process is that whether you're in a flood zone or not, you might want to carry some flood insurance. You might want to carry a wind policy. There's different things now that I think every citizen out there should listen to, pay attention to, and set themselves up for the future. Because yes, it hit once. Charlie was our once, by the way. Now we've been hit twice, same area, pretty much the same or more damage the second time through. So strike three is not what you want to have. You've gotten two fastballs down in the center of the plate. You've had some situations happen right now. And right now you want to tee yourself up for a home run. And the best way you can do a home run is to get your application into FEMA, get started with SBA, and then immediately sit down with your insurance agent and discuss your insurance policy through and through. And just because it's cheap doesn't mean it's good. It might fit your budget better, but does it fit your budget today? End result of a cheap policy is what you're dealing with now. So really
Mhm.
take into heart exactly what you're buying, how you're buying it, and
Mhm.
what you're looking at. Because if I take a couple $100 over 12 months and divide that down, that's the difference between an okay policy and a great policy. And that's just the homeowner side. If you're not in a flood zone, you're talking about a couple $300 a month or a year annually for flood insurance in a not flood zone area. Divide that by 12. Stop going to McDonald's. You got it covered. So I'm just telling you, if you really want to protect yourself and your family, the first thing you do is you fix what you've got today. And you fix what you have today by talking with FEMA and SBA. Get yourself on the fast track to recovery and do those things right away because you only have until the 12th. The second side of that is to sit yourself down with your insurance agent and tee yourself up for success down the road from today. And that's called a lesson learned. Anything you guys want to add to that?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that I mean the stories that I've been hearing in Florida, there's a lot of work helping those people that are having issues with their insurance companies. Jimmy Patronis' office has been doing great work. There are insurance advocates in Florida that will help you look through your policy to identify anything that you may have missed to make sure that everything is fair. But again, SBA cannot duplicate those insurance funds.
Right.
If you did have insurance, go ahead and start your insurance. But I cannot stress this enough. You don't have to wait for insurance to go ahead and settle with you. If later on we figure out, okay, insurance is going to, cover all of what they deemed their damages were, we want to make sure that you're getting in that queue, getting in that process. And I always tell people, remember this, I've said it 100 times, it's better to have the SBA loan and not need it than to need it and not be able to apply for it because the deadline
Absolutely.
is gone. The deadline would just pass you by. So it's better to have it. And then later on, you can just say, okay, I do want the loan, or I don't want this amount. I only need this amount. You can modify it. Just stay in touch with your loan officer and your caseworker and make sure that you have those options there, and they are there to help you through that process as well.
I've got about 7 minutes left.
Okay. Yeah.
That's my cue in to, we're running out of time already, 48 minutes in, and it doesn't feel like 48 minutes on this topic. I feel like I could go for hours. But Tango, I know that you wanted to say something. I'm going to give the floor to you here.
Oh, I'll make it really quickly. I was going to just continue with where you all were and just simply say, now, neither does FEMA allow you to double dip. And what that means is this: if you have insurance and your insurance is covering certain items, we can't then come back and give you more money to add to that. Wait, I don't want to say it that way because we may be able to. Here's what I want to say. Let me put it this way. FEMA helps people that are insured and maybe underinsured. FEMA helps people that are not insured. FEMA helps people that are individuals, and FEMA helps people that come with a family orientation. If you are listening to this information and you speak a different language, and maybe none of the people that live in your home are naturalized, if there's a little one in your home that was born in the United States, you may be able to bring in paperwork supporting that process and initiate your application anyway. So if you've been hesitant about applying for FEMA and you are with insurance and you go, oh, they won't be able to help me, how about you complete your application and allow us to work through that process for you? Another thing is, a lot of times people get caught up with the numbers. They'll go, oh, this is so astronomical. I don't think anything that they can do can help me. Give us the opportunity by submitting your application. If you're listening to this information, and as I said, you're speaking a different language, and your fear is that this is a federal government um, process that's taking place here, and your concern is that if you show up or if you share your information, that we're going to penalize you and come and try to get you taken away from your home and your family, you need not worry about that. We are not here to penalize anyone. We're not here to judge anyone. We're not here to say whatever your income is, if it's fixed, that we're going to hold it against you. We simply want to make sure that if your home is not safe, sanitized, or functional, or you incurred serious damage, please consider applying for FEMA. You can do that by going to 1 800 621 3362 by using your phone, disasterassistance.gov online, or for the next 6 days, you can visit one of our disaster recovery centers. And again, we're here to help you.
And I just want to add, do I have time to add something?
Go for
Okay. I just want to add, with the SBA process, number one, start with FEMA. Business owners, you can come directly to SBA. If you are referred to SBA, submit your application for those physical damages yesterday, as soon as possible. SBA, you get up to those 30 years to repay back that low interest rate loan. For business owners, if you had a COVID-19 idle in the state of Florida and you needed to, get those funds through COVID, and you applied for a COVID and were approved for a COVID-19 idle, yes, you are eligible for a hurricane loan, a low interest loan with SBA under this natural disaster. So I just want to make that clear. There's no cost to apply. Those people, unfortunately, during disasters, people were trying to take advantage of your circumstances. We will have our official ID with us if we ever came to see you. We won't ask for any money up front. So make sure you're taking care of those elderly people or those people who may be preyed upon by those type situations. But FEMA and SBA, we will always have an official government ID with a chip in there. Our emails will end with .gov. So I just want to make sure that I mention that as well. But as far as everything else, please get those applications in there. Start with FEMA. Talk to us. Come into the DRCs. We're waiting for you to come in there and speak to us and help you through the process.
And just so you know, I put in the DRC locator. I want to make sure that you guys do this ahead of time. I am literally, I live right near Shannon Staub Public Library. I believe they're still there. I would confirm that with a phone call before you went. It doesn't hurt at this point to confirm that. Or you can call the radio station, or you can call STC. It's Sarasota Technical College. That's in the same building structure. They will be able to tell you whether they're there or not, because they literally have been living at the Shannon Staub Library from the day they got here, except for I think it was 2 days where we had a disaster on the other coast. They packed up for 2 days. They went over there. They did their thing over there, and then they came back. They have been staple holds of our community. They've been here to serve and to help. Please, if you know anybody out there right now, the only thing I'm asking you, and these ladies are asking you to do, is if you're a naysayer, stop. Get somebody who needs help. Get them to one of the DRCs and get them to register. If they can't do that, get them to register online. If they can't do that, help them register. Get this application process started. Get them in the queue so that things can move forward with everyone. If the worst thing that happens is that people all over the place right now fire this up and put themselves in the queue, that's the worst that can happen. The best thing that can happen is let's get people help. And the only way that that's going to happen is if they get in the queue before the 12th. That's the deadline. That's the drop dead date that y'all have to beat. And right now, if you've heard no's, turn them into yeses and just say, yes, I'm going to do it because my story is different than Joe's down the street, and I'm going to give it a shot. Giving it a shot is 100% effort with a maximum return possibility. If you don't do it, it's 0 and 0. And you can always get 0 by doing nothing. So try to do something and get it done. You guys want to add anything in? I've got no time, but please make your 30-second speech. I'll go a minute over.
You were perfect to me. Go ahead.
1-800-621-3362.
All right.
Is the phone number.
It was great having you guys. I'm going to be over my budget here by 25 seconds right now, but this is John Rawlings with Real Talk Radio, SBA, and FEMA. Please get your applications in. You guys stay tight. I'll be right back with you. I'm going to end the air. Off to the next radio station. You guys have a great day and drive safe on the way home. This is John Rawlings, Real Talk Radio.